And we are live. And I would like to introduce Penny Bradley. She's a survivor of the secret space program, Montauk. She's been on Mars. She's a researcher, a public speaker, and so much more. And so without further ado, Penny Bradley, would you like to give us a little bit about your background? Who is Penny Bradley in your own words?
On Earth, my life, I spent trying to go to college. I wanted to be a doctor. I was really good at science and math. My father had other ideas. He thought I was supposed to be a country preacher's wife. And so we were constantly butting heads. And the final decision came down to when I was 17, which at that time I was a minor. And I had a full ride scholarship to go to Cornell University in their School of Engineering. And he ripped it up in front of me.
Oh, no.
And he said, this was in 1973. And he said that girls need husbands, they don't need degrees. That tells you how I was raised. I've had 2 QHHT sessions the last 2 Julys in a row with Drago Reed. He's out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And it came up in both sessions about my relationship with my father. And eventually my subconscious let it all out that my father had been in trouble. And the Office of Scientific Studies had come to him and said, you know, we can make your legal problems go away if you let us take your first child, the one your wife's pregnant with, and we'll bring her back within 30 minutes, so you won't even notice she's been gone. They never told him what they were going to use me for, and apparently he was too young and naive at the time to even bother to ask. And so they modified my DNA before I was born to give me psychic abilities that normal people don't have and can't have because they don't have the DNA to support it. These abilities allow me to fly a spaceship. Now, before that, I know that sounds outrageous. The technique today is called CRISPR, and you can read about it. What was used on me was a very early stage of it, and the Office of Scientific Studies had learned this from extraterrestrials. They did not develop this themselves. So this was early stages. Since then, they've done a lot of the science and figured out what they're doing, and they're much better at it these days. But a lot of the health problems that I have, and I just turned 70, and a lot of my health problems are related to this DNA change. Excuse me. So when I was 4 years old, it was the summer before I started kindergarten. So it was 1959. These men in green fatigues showed up at our trailer house we lived in. And they took me. There were 3 other kids in the Jeep it was a Korean War Jeep, that 2 adult men, 4 children, and we drove cross country from Central California to Langley, Virginia. And we mostly traveled at night so that you wouldn't have to answer questions as to why these military guys had children in the back. They were building the maglev train system then. And so part of the time we traveled in tunnels in the daytime. And you could see if you were right under one of the lights, and they were the big lights, the big lights that they use like at mines and places.
Okay.
And if you were under one, you could just see the next one. So you knew which direction to drive. Otherwise, it was just absolutely pitch black. And I don't know why they didn't use their headlights in there, but they didn't. So we were driving cross country. And it took about a week to get to Langley. And when we got to Langley, I wasn't on the official part of the base. I wasn't in the Air Force part. The CIA building was being built while I was there, but I wasn't in that either. I was in an old building near the river, and it had sub-basements. And these sub-basements had been turned into, they looked like World War II hospitals, where you had a big room and then you had basically cells off to the side. And these cells were set up for small children. And when we got there, there were 1,000 kids there. And they spent the first year and a half mind fracturing us. And that's done primarily through sexual assault. Remember, I was a 4-year-old child. The other children there ranged from 3 to 7 years old. So we're talking little kids.
Yeah.
And these were adult men who were raping us in every body opening several times a day. They had a technology that the Germans in space, it translates into a regeneration tank. And it's not their technology. They got it from the Mennonite Empire. Starship Troopers, the movie, pretty much describes the Mennonite Empire. So, but the Mennonite Empire had granted a lease on this technology because they felt sorry for the Germans who were trying to get off Earth because their technology was giving the crews radiation sickness. So they leased them. I do not know what the Germans pay for it with. But this hospital on Langley Air Force Base land had one. And it's basically a cylinder 2 meters across, 3 meters deep. And it's filled with a green gel. It's made out of black goo that the sentience has been removed. So it's basically a nanobot that's so thick it looks like a gel. And there's a computer tablet. It's bigger than a cell phone, but it's smaller than the tablets we have today. And it's on the side, and it has a slot in it to put a blood sample. And you put the blood sample in, and you set it for an age and weight. And a really good tech can fix genetic problems, like if your feet are deformed or something. A really good tech can do that, but most of them are not really good. Most of them can just set the age and weight. And you go in, and you can be dead. You can be dead for up to 4 months, and they can bring you back.
Wow.
And so they didn't care if we bled out after they raped us. They didn't care if they killed us during any of these processes. In fact, that became part of the process, was we had to learn that death was not an option. We had to obey instantly, without thinking, without even considering the morality of it. I still have flashbacks of Langley. When I reintegrate a new altar, because it was formed around a nasty memory, usually those memories are from Langley. I have been reintegrating 7 altars since July. And I've been screaming at night again. And that's why I'm taking Benadryl to sleep, is because it slows down the nightmares. And I don't wake the neighbor theory. I'm really smart about some things and really stupid about others. And I'm honest about it, and I have meltdowns when I can't cope. So I don't pretend to be perfect. But what I'm talking about being public, the gist of it is we have government agencies all over the world. America is not the only country doing this, but every country on the planet that has nuclear weapons is part of the space black ops.
Wow.
And they are kidnapping their own children to serve in these programs.
Do they mind fracture them in all of them?
They mind fracture them in all of them. So a lot of these people that you're hearing being targeted individuals, and you think they're just alcoholics and druggies, they're not. A lot of them are veterans of these programs that are starting to remember, and so they're being targeted to shut them up. And it's every country on the planet that has nuclear weapons as part of this stuff. Mm. And that's why I'm talking, is because I want them to have to stop kidnapping and mind fracturing children.
And when did you decide to speak out publicly?
I came public in 2016 because my partner and I were both shot with directed energy weapons 3 times that summer. And it's bad enough they tried to kill me with it, but they got him too. And as far as I know, he has no experience in these programs. And so the 3rd time we got shot, I said, Bill Cooper said, if you know they're going to kill you, to hide in the spotlight and tell everything you know. And I did that in September 2016. So we are at my 9-year anniversary now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The last 15 months, I've had 10 murder attempts on me.
Wow.
So this is an ongoing problem, and there's a lot of folks out there who think I'm just delusional, but even my doctor is keeping score now.
Wow, of how many murder attempts you get?
Yeah, how many murder attempts? Because I come in with burns.
Why do you think they want to murder you?
Because I'm making headway. There is a CIA program out there. It's called Project Oblivion.
I've heard of it.
The disclosure movement is making too much headway with the public. And this is something that is as important to the Pentagon types all over the world as the Manhattan Project was during World War II. They think they have to keep this secret. They think that they have to use children. They think that they have to mind fracture them. And they are targeting a specific group of individuals, a specific family. And this is the family that rules the world, except that, they only have so many jobs. So the more kids they have after that, they push them down to the middle class. And after a while, they even forget that they have this kind of ancestry, but the genetics are still there. So what they're looking for are elite genetics without land, without title, without money. These are people that nobody gives a blankety blank about. So they can do whatever they want to us and nobody cares.
Sorry.
And they do things like they find people who are in trouble with the law, and they say, well, if you let us borrow your child, your problems will go away. And these people are so desperate to have their solutions that they don't even think about what's going to happen to their child. There are several of us out in the community that we know for a fact our fathers told them it was okay.
How did you find that out?
Mine was through the QHHT regression hypnosis. My parents had talked about it because my father was unhappy with how I came back. My first trip, from their point of view, I was only gone a half an hour. And they found me on the front porch. My pajamas were inside out, and I was speaking Schwabian German instead of English. I didn't know who they were.
Wow. How come you didn't know who they were?
Because I had been mind wiped when they first picked me up.
So you didn't have any memories?
I didn't have any memories of these people. I had no idea who they were, and they beat me regularly. They beat me for not speaking English. They beat me for not knowing who they were. And I had no idea who they were. So I came back after a half hour and didn't know anybody, didn't know who these people were. And I quickly relearned English. I started kindergarten. I told the kindergarten teacher that Martians had left me on the doorstep, which was true. These were people who had been on Mars. And the teacher sent a note home to my mom, pinned to my shirt. And I'm like, okay, Mom beat me. I gave birth to you. Okay.
So did they still not believe you at any point in time? Did they start to believe you?
Nope. My mother died last March and was calling me a liar the whole time.
Oh, sorry.
But in the QHHT, these were things that my parents talked about thinking I was asleep. So I heard them. Okay, I heard them talking. So this is what my parents talked about. Real world, what we call here and now, rather than in the programs. And my father was mortified that I had abilities. He thought he was raising a witch. I was a geek, so boys were not interested in me, so he thought I was a lesbian, and that was a big deal to him. I'm not. I've been married 3 times. I'm a mother and grandmother. Not that there's anything wrong with the other, but I wasn't what Dad was accusing me of being. I did pray for things and they would happen, but that was part of the genetic change, the DNA change. I now understand that. Growing up, I didn't. I had a lot of anger because they kept beating me for things that I was telling the truth, and they kept calling me a liar.
And did your memories all come back from this the QHHT, the quantum?
No. I met an agent in 2012 online. And I was a truther, and he was watching what I was posting, and he says, would you like to come see DC? You hate DC, you want to see what it is you're railing against. And he was an NSA agent. And later on, I remembered he was my trauma twin from Langley. So he had also been through the same stuff.
What's the trauma twin?
When you go through this mind fracture training, they will pair you with another child of the opposite gender, and they make you into teams that they can deploy you together. But what happens is it's extra torture when you watch your trauma twin be hurt. And there are times when they make you kill your trauma twin. And later on in 1964, we were both deployed to Mars. You've heard some of the whistleblowers talk about the Mars net. My trauma twin was who did the Mars net. He was a genius with electronics and computers and languages, and he spoke on Mars. He spoke German, English, and Russian, and he set up everything for all three languages. And it was he was just an incredible person.
And so what is the Mars net for all those that don't know?
For those who don't know, on Mars in 1964, we had colonies on Mars already. Most of them were German, some were American. And the Russians had tagged along with the Americans. Yeah, even though we were in the Cold War on Earth, on Mars, they were allies. And we, okay.
It just went fuzzy.
I can't adjust the camera. I'm sorry. It's just being weird.
Everything went fuzzy.
Yeah, I see that. Sorry about that.
Your background looks fantastic.
That's software. It's not the camera. So,
it's what?
It's software. There, I'm almost back. Okay.
Yeah, you're almost back. It's getting there.
Back. So, okay, just sit closer.
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever. There we are. Okay.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, just about there. Yeah, you're fading into view.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the Martian net and how the Russian...
The Mars net was like ARPANET. It's not like the internet here. It was a place where everything was computerized and available. If you had a job that required information, you were given access to the areas that related to your job. So it both preserved security and gave available information to anybody in a job. And it was available in German, English, and Russian. The Germans on Mars spoke Schwabish. It's a dialect of High German. It's considered to be the equivalent of hillbilly English. And so it's not standard German. And my memories from that time are in Schwabish. They're not in regular German. And I'm having trouble translating it all. So Some of my descriptions sound really hokey because I'm not using the German words. I'm using an approximation in English. And because most of my following are not military people, I avoid military jargon, even though a lot of what I dealt with was military. I was considered to be military the whole time I was there.
And how long was that?
That first trip was 55 years.
55 years.
Mm-hmm. That
And
first trip was 55 years.
How many trips did you have?
I have memories of 91, 60 and backs on top of that one.
60 and backs. So there's the 20 and back program. So tell us a little bit about the 60 and back program.
The Germans take you in your natural body. They just regenerate you down to age 25 for women and 30 to 35 for men. Yeah, they're sexist about it. Men are most productive between 30 and 35. Women are prettiest at 25. That's their reasoning. No matter what you do as a woman, you are still primarily a sex object. And some of the women who come forward, that's all they want to talk about. They are so mortified that they were consistently raped the whole time they were gone. And there are ways to work around that. You find one officer and become his mistress, and then you don't have to worry about everybody else raping you. You just have the one partner, which is almost like being in a relationship on Earth. It's not a permanent, and you're not allowed to get jealous. You're not allowed to create drama over it.
Did you ever take that route?
Oh, yeah. It's the only way to keep from being raped 24 hours a day in any of these programs. And there are at least 6 factions out there. I primarily, well, I don't know if it's even primarily. I had 2,197 altars when I left.
And explain what altars are.
Altars are the scars. They are the goal of mind fracture. That you have an alternate personality that does not share memory with your core personality, so that they can use you for whatever they want and you can't testify against them. And that's the whole reason for it.
And how do you know you have that many altars?
Because that's standard policy. They create a 13 by 13 by 13 cubic hierarchical array of altars. They are using us as computers. They are creating arrays in our heads of files where they can store personality, they can store training, they can store memory of missions. Each altar has its own life. They just share your body. Now, the reason you hear about 20 and backs is that's what the Americans do.
Yeah.
The Americans install you into a clone body. They have suppressed the mind of the clone. No, they're not soulless clones. They're your identical twin. Seriously. But they've used technology to suppress the mind development. And so the normal teenage mind development that says, this is my body, this is what I do, that develops at about age 25 in these clones. So they're slower.
So it's a clone of you. It's a twin of you. It's not you.
Right. And they put you in it. And then they activate the alter they want. And you live in that body for 20 years, because if you live in that body for 25 years, your twin will kick you out.
What do you mean it'll kick you out?
It will push you out of its body.
Then what happens to the body?
What happens is they kill the clone, your twin, to send you home. That's what the Americans are doing.
So they clone people with their DNA.
Yes. And
So
sometimes they modify the DNA. Okay? I've been in male bodies with the Americans.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't look the same every time. Do you
No.
look the same some of the times?
My first alter that was on Mars, I look the same as her.
So do you remember all your alters?
No. I have reintegrated 45 of them. Those are the ones I share memory with. Out of those 45, I primarily work with the Germans in space. But I have alters who work with the CIA. I have alters who were killed working for the CIA. In fact, the CIA archivist who has verified that I'm telling the story that she uploaded my file. There were only a couple of minor differences, she said, and she told me what those were. There's a woman that I worked with that I don't remember, and I don't remember the flies on Mars. But otherwise, the flies. Otherwise, my story matches her file on me almost 100%.
What do you mean, her file on you?
She was the data processing clerk for the CIA archive who uploaded my file.
Oh.
And she kept a copy. Now, she can't give it to me because the day I had my spinal fusion surgery, her house burned down. And she lost all of the copies she had kept. So, I don't have a physical copy, but I do have her testimony that what I talk about is the same as what she uploaded. And that's as good as it gets when you're talking about classified projects. None of us have that magic paper file that says we did this. None of us have that. And anybody who says they do is lying.
So she was the only one because she processed the paperwork and she kept copies and they figured it out. And so her house was burned out.
They figured it out because she did videos with me.
Oh.
And then they burned down her house.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's the way this entire community goes. Every time you think you're going to have proof that what you remember is real, you're blocked. There's a house fire. There's a building destroyed. There's records lost. It's just batting your head against the wall. So when I first came public, I wanted justice. I wanted these people taken to court. I wanted these people to have to pay. Now I just want them to stop doing it to other kids. There's nothing we do out there that can't be done by consenting adults. There's no reason to kidnap and rape 4-year-olds.
So is there any other component to the mind fracture? Like, how did they do the mind fracturing?
They do the process is they put a child in so much trauma that the child has to choose to live or die. If they choose to live, they put a bubble around the memory. And that bubble becomes the altar. It's a process. It takes time. So to get that 13 by 13 by 13 cubic array takes at least 18 months of raping children. Now, you do eventually get to where rape doesn't work anymore.
And then what do they use?
They had a vault, like an old bank vault, and they would put a bunch of us in there and tell us only one of us could come out. And they would leave us until we all suffocated. The fighting that happens while you're dying is outrageous. Another thing that they did to me was they had a hole in the wall that they would shove me into and nail a piece of plywood over the hole.
And that would help the mind fracturing?
That would make it where I had to choose whether to live or die, because I would have the memory of suffocating inside there. I'm claustrophobic to this day because of this.
So how do you choose to live or die? So you literally had the choice. They would stop it at some point?
If you chose to live, you created an altar. If you chose to die, you went catatonic, and they would toss you alive into the incinerator. There were 1,000 kids when I got to Langley. There were between 20 and 30 of us when we went to Mars in '64. They killed the rest.
So all those other parents didn't get their children back?
Right.
When they agreed to take them for half an hour, they just came back?
They never came back. Where did you think all of the kids on the milk cartons in the '80s came from? They came from these programs. These were kids that didn't come back.
So only 20 of you made it?
It was between 20 and 30, and I can't remember the exact number. We were all sent to Mars together.
But I thought you...
1964.
So how come they didn't just make them alive again?
Because they couldn't fix their mind.
So
the regen tank only fixes bodies. It will bring you back from the dead if your mind is okay. But whatever mind you had when you died, that's what you had when you come back. If you were crazy, you were crazy. If you were catatonic, you were catatonic. Once you were catatonic, there was nothing they could do to fix you.
So what's the point of mind fracturing though? Like, why would they want to do?
The point of mind fracturing is to make it where you cannot be a witness against them. So that they can sell an altar and a tissue sample for a clone to put you in to all of these other people. This was a Office of Scientific Studies project. It was manned by German paperclip Nazi scientists. They used SRA techniques on us. And this was part of the Pentagon program. Okay? This is something, it has been going on since 1956 was whenever they started taking kids. 1952 was when Eisenhower signed the treaty with the Germans that created these programs. And he signed the treaty because in 1947, In the Battle of Operation High Jump, the Germans in Antarctica won World War II. Almost everything you have been told by American schools, by American media, is a lie. And it's like there's so much background that you're missing. I mean, there were Russian ships that were watching the Americans in the Battle of Operation High Jump, and they filmed the battle. They've done a documentary about it. It's on YouTube.
In Russian?
Yeah, it's in Russian, but it has English subtitles. Yeah. You should listen to what our so-called enemies say, because a lot of times they're telling you the truth. Well, they don't tell their own people the truth, but they tell us the truth.
It's funny because today what happened was I'm in a group chat and they started talking about China and what happened in Tibet. And I got a whole nother story as to what is happening. And this is one of the things, it just happens to be on my screen. It says Penn and Teller, Dalai Lama and Tibet. That was one of the videos that I just watched. Mm-hmm. And it just paints a whole nother picture of Tibet and China and their relationship, and that I'd never heard before. And
you've got Pakistan, China, and India are fighting over Nepal.
Yeah.
And we just had a student-led coup in Nepal. So I'm looking at it and going, okay, which country is going to take them over? Most likely India, but it could possibly be China. Unless the Americans decide to step in, which is always a possibility. We have so much crap going on in our world right now. Most people have no idea who's in charge. Most people have no idea what the long-term game plan is. And most people are listening to the media like they're telling the truth, and they're not. It's legal in the United States for the media to speak propaganda. And
exactly.
That's all they've been doing most of my lifetime, if not all of it. Now, I know they were speaking pure propaganda in World War I and World War II. They were in Vietnam. They have been ever since.
We don't get the true story, do we? So tell us a little bit about your healing abilities. I know you said that it grew out of Reiki. Can you tell us a little bit about the history on that? And
my healing modality is called receivings, and it was developed by Michael Pagel. And he is a third level Reiki master. And he came up with receivings, and it's something you pass to each other like you would pass on the Holy Spirit in church. And it involves the receivings person becomes a channel for, oh God, it's been so long since I had to describe it. You handle source energy, and it comes down and hits your heart chakra and comes out your hands, and it passes from your right hand to your left. And you make a ball of energy that you shoot to the person. And it comes out a orchid pinky purple color. And it goes to your higher self who applies the energy where it's needed. So I don't even have to know what's wrong with you. I just send the energy and your own higher self deals with it.
And how does it work? Does it work out well?
Usually, yeah. I've only had one complaint about someone didn't feel it, and she contacted me a week later and said, well, I didn't feel it, but it worked.
Really?
So, yeah.
And what does it heal?
Anything that can be fixed energetically. There are things you can't fix energetically, and not many practitioners will admit that. I mean, broken bones you can't fix energetically. Actual infections where another life form is invading your body, that's pretty hard to fix energetically. Or if a body part has actually stopped functioning, that's pretty hard to fix. But modern medicine can handle broken bones and infections pretty well.
And do you have any other healing abilities outside of this Reiki that you've found healing from mind fracturing? Do they have firewalls on them, or have you been able to tap into any of them?
When I was activated in 2013, I had a firewall.
When you were what?
When the NSA agent, Steve, when he activated my memories in 2013, I had a firewall. I got past that firewall about 3 years ago. So I've been able to use my abilities since. People tell me that it helps when I send them energy. I don't have any objective evidence one way or the other.
Okay.
So I don't claim to be a healer. What I'm presenting myself to the public as is a whistleblower on a program that's kidnapping children, and that it needs to be stopped.
So do all the parents agree, though?
No.
So some of the times it just happens.
It depends on if they want the kid. Some of us would be born with special abilities anyway because of this genetic heritage. The elites are the elites because they are in a hybrid status. Okay.
Like mutant?
More like 5,000 years ago, ETs interbred with them, and they have spent a lot of trouble to preserve that
Lineage.
to the point of being dangerously inbred. Now, because we are their bloodline, but we have no land, no titles, no money, some of us will spontaneously revert to more ET than human. You know, it's like you'll go along and you'll have a family that's mixed race and they'll all be one color, and then suddenly they'll have one kid that's not. I mean, everybody has seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the redhead in the family.
Yeah, like the redhead in the family. You know, everybody sees that. This is like that. You will have every so often you'll have the one redhead, or in this case, the one with the ET genetics will pop up. And those kids don't stand a chance. These agencies will fight over them.
They'll fight over them. The agencies will.
Yes, because their genetics are so valuable to these programs that they will fight over that child.
So how many lifetimes have you lived?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I added up the ones that I knew about, and it was over 5,000 years, and it depressed me, and I've stopped trying to add them up.
Do you think they're still doing things to you now?
Yes, I know they are.
Like what?
I am still active out in space. I get bleed over memories from the altars that are out there. This goes into quantum physics. Because we are one soul, ultimately one mind, but I'm in two places at once, you get telepathy, you get interaction, you're suddenly there and you can't do anything about what they're doing, but you see and feel everything they're experiencing. That's how I know what some of these altars have done, is because of the bleed over factor. And some of them have been used for some pretty horrific things. One set of 5 altars that work for the CIA. If I talk about what they do, the CIA is going to kill me. Period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that one.
So you don't talk about it?
I don't talk about them. Now, back to Doris, the CIA archivist. When we were doing the videos together, she sat there and she was in shock because I had an altar who served in her office with her.
And she knew about it.
She knew me. She said, "My friend died. I went to her funeral. I cried. And here you are, and you look just like her."
So they look alike.
They can, yeah.
Wow.
She died in the 1980s in a plane crash. She was part of the Iran-Contra affair. The one that brought down President Reagan.
So the things that you can speak about, is there anything that's most important that you'd want people to know about your experiences?
Okay, a lot of SSP folks come out and make it sound like it's Buck Rogers in the 21st century. It's not. Yes, there's fabulous technologies out there. Yes, we are all over space. We are all over the Milky Way. We are into 3 other galaxies where we have colonies. And we have time travel. And yes, some of the agencies have screwed with our past and changed where we are now. Oh, yeah. Anytime you have hyperspace drive, you have time travel. Now, what I want you to know is we're all slaves. They may give us a title. They may call us an officer, but we're still slaves. We can't leave. We have no choice about being there. We don't get paid. And if we screw up, we get killed. We may be brought back to life, but we're still punished like slaves. Every damned one of us is a slave. This is institutionalized slavery, and it's multi-generational because they're looking for specific DNA. They took my mother, they took me, they've taken all 3 of my kids. I had 7 babies that were taken from my womb that were used in these programs.
So you had miscarriages?
They didn't even rank as miscarriages. I mean, how can it be a miscarriage if there's not a baby in what you pass? They took the babies, inserted them into other women.
Wow. So they took it out of your womb without your knowledge and took it and put it in some other woman.
They just knocked me out and took them. And I woke up the next morning bleeding.
Wow. So do you have any advice that you want to give to people that have these strange memories like you?
There are millions of us worldwide. Most are ignoring them because they think they're just nightmares. But there are millions of us. And worse, because we have altars, we don't know what those altars are trained to do. When I first came public, I saw a video where a woman said we were a standing army, not under our own control. And she was terrified. And she was right. All of these school shootings where they talk about, I kept hearing voices and finally I was unable to resist them. That's what they do to us. This is the mind control programs that have been going on since at least 1952. We're talking 70 years.
It's a long time. And all of these, to go through this so many times, it's a lot for one person to handle and millions of people that are going through it. So
yeah,
I'm sure people that aren't speaking up are happy that you are.
I'm contacted by people almost daily, and some of them are in such bad shape, I have to refer them to a psychiatrist. There are some people that they wait until they're suicidal before they come to me. And I'm not the only one you can come to. There's probably 300 of us that are public. If you are having these kinds of issues, these kinds of memories, and it's affecting your life, get help. Do try to avoid the meds because they make it impossible to control what's going on. But find yourself a talk therapist, somebody you can trust, and talk about it. You don't have to be public.
Right. Not everybody wants to do that. Well, thank you so much for being public today and for coming on here. And if people want to follow your work, where can they find you? Do you want to give your information, your Rumble, Patreon, Substack?
I'm on Rumble and Odyssey, Odyssee, as Nachtwaffen Pilot. I'm on Substack and Patreon under Penny Bradley, Nachtwaffen Pilot. I'm on Twitter as @Penelope, and I think.
And do you have a new website coming soon?
I have a new website coming soon, and it will be nachtwaffenpilot.com. I'm trying to keep it the same name so that people can find me easier.
And sorry.
I'm on Facebook, but frankly, I'm not accepting new friends. I try to keep my circle small. It is a professional profile, so people can follow me if they want, but most of my posts are public, so you don't have to be my friend. But I got to where I was inundated with agents and people who were attacking me every comment, every post. And so if it's something that really matters to me, I don't allow comments on it at all.
Makes sense. And where can people find you live? Are you doing any conferences like you just did the
I just did the Full Disclosure Now conference in Tampa Bay in July. I'm going to be at bases in England with Miles Johnston, but I'm going to be there on Zoom.
International Disclosure Conference.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there on Zoom, and my physical self is not up to a 19-hour flight. So
Understood.
So I just couldn't do it. So Miles graciously is allowing me to come by Zoom.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
he's a good guy.
If you want to see Penny and on any of her channels, just check them all out. And thank you guys for coming today. And thank you, Penny, for giving us your bio and so much information. It's a pleasure to have you on. And if you'd like to support the channel, Miss_Loisel is my channel for Instagram, YouTube, Miss Loisel for other channels. And thanks so much for joining us today. And bye for now. Any last words, Penny?
Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's my pleasure.